So today we're going to have a presentation, and it's going to be interactive, I understand. Andrew and Ravi, I'm not even going to try to pronounce last names. So let's give a warm Traction Thursday welcome to Andrew and Ravi. You have a great run.
Hello, my name is Gregory Louie, and I'm a retired scientist and educator, and I've had interest in community organization for a number of years and have done a couple of workshops in dynamic facilitation as well as future search. And when Ravi came to town talking about Agile circles, I thought this would be a great little project for my retirement to support him, and so I'm going to hand it over to Ravi now.
Thank you, Gregory. Good morning, everyone. It was nice talking to you a couple of weeks back. I come from an IT background. I was a software developer, implementer, but recently I work in total quality management implementation and enterprise automation. That's core part of my job. I just finished my on-campus graduate study in MIU and actively seeking for jobs to go all around. Let's see where, I don't know. And today, this morning, we'll be talking about this idea of Agile Circle, where I have been contributing since 2006. We'll go in length in details as we progress to degree.
Thank you. I just want to express my gratitude to this space and to each of you. I've been here in Fairfield for only a few years, and I can see that this is really thriving and dynamic community, and I appreciate it. It's a beautiful place to live. I lived in larger cities, and this has everything that a small town would want to have, and I really appreciate the opportunity to get to know you and to learn about the visions for a thriving, economically resilient, and powerful, beautiful Fairfield, Iowa. So I'm here with you, and I appreciate everything that you have said. I've learned a great deal about the people in this community who are really the movers and shakers, and this is like ground zero in terms of the movers and shakers. So what I saw when I saw Ravi is that he was a Six Sigma black belt. I was very impressed with that because that is a certification that's very hard to get. Not only that, he's a Scrum Master. And then when I went deeper, I saw that he won several national awards in Nepal for quality leadership, as well as international awards. And knowing that he was graduating from MIU and potentially leaving us, I thought, I don't want to see him go without learning from a master who is a master of quality circles as well as a master of Agile and Scrum. So with that said, I talked to several of you, and the ones that I talked to were enthusiastic about putting together some kind of workshop before he goes. And I followed that up with Terry Baker, the director of Visit Fairfield, which is the marketing arm of Fairfield, and she said, yes, it's important to have this kind of workshop and expertise, and what can I do to help? And so we have a nucleus of people who are working to put together a facilitators training workshop. This would be a workshop to help us facilitate any collaborative group. So if you're in a group or organization and you want to learn Agile processes to become more effective, this workshop is for you. Ravi, would you? So let's see. This is a quote from a very famous business, consultant guy, Kawasaki, and he said, ideas are easy, implementations are hard. The first thing that Terry told us is Fairfield has a lot of great ideas, and it's much harder to get things done. So I can see that this process would be perfect for us. We want to learn how to define and prioritize problems and their solutions, identify the root causes of problems, when I asked Ravi about this, he said there's a principle. It's called the Pareto principle. And the Pareto principle is that 20% of the individuals in the organization probably provide 80% of the effectiveness. And so the same thing is true of root causes of problems. There are many factors that go into a particular problem, but we want to focus in on the most effective interventions. And so there's a scientific process for doing so. After we find the root causes, we schedule and complete projects. As a Scrum Master, it's scheduling and completing projects in a limited time frame. So there's a strong scheduling component. And then systematic review and retrospection for continuous improvement is what will allow us to sustain our community and the improvements that we hope to achieve.
Shall we go back down now?
Go ahead.
Okay, that was a nice introduction. Let's get to the root, where it all started. We know Second World War, and we also know the way Japan faced it. And after Second World War, Dr. Edward Deming, he was invited to Japan by Japanese government, and there's a non-profit called Japanese Union of Scientists and Engineers. The first class Deming puts on a table is, I would teach you the management style or statistical approach of management if you agree on one thing, that you want to start everything all over. Then he starts guiding the Japanese scientists and engineers on very simple statistical principles. Thinking problem and our ability to control them with data, facts, and figures. Japanese, they went one step further. By early 60s, they came up with this idea of bottom-up participatory management, and they call it quality circle. Quality circle is at the heart of the Hossein Kanri framework. That's a TQM framework, in fact. The Japanese, most of the pioneer Japanese industries, they use Hossein Kanri, meaning they by policy-driven, policy-focused approach of management. And at the heart, there is this participatory approach. If there is no quality circle, there is no entire dimension of Hossein and the TQM movement they have pioneered. The quality, it's a very simple principle. There are just three things to understand in quality circle. If we just look from a bird's eye view, what they do, they meet every week, an hour or half, and then they identify a problem, any problem they are facing every day. They analyze them, study the characteristic of the problem, and analyze the root cause. Again, like Gregory said, using Pareto principles and root cause analysis, there are simple tools, graphical tools that any factory workers can as such use. Analyze the root cause and solve them themselves as a team without so much of a sophistication, without having the big titles, but with the local resources. They try to solve the problem and see how much the impact is less and less and less. Not all the problem, engineering or complicated problems, cannot always be solved in the team. They will recommend, definitely, but that's not the first step, like the conventional management practices. If you have a problem, you hire big titles and then try to solve it, your cost is too expensive. There are a lot of stories of quality circles and being able to solve very sophisticated problem with very minimal resources. That was the history. And by 20 years, Japanese, they pioneered in most of the industry. All of us, we know. We love Toyota more than Ford today. And somewhere the contribution goes to, the recognition should be done on this self-organizing team. But as that was growing, one area that quality circle could not impact as much, that was 90s development of this dot-com boom or the IT industry. the programmers and the softwares and knowledge workers and the creative workers. Quality circle principle and culture was interwoven into the industrial practices. That creative collaboration was not as addressed with the sophistication of quality circle probably, and then comes in the West, basically in US and a few places, people they came up with this idea of Agile manifesto and the Scrum as a framework. The beauty of Scrum and Agile lies in having ability to help the people, knowledge workers, creative workers, self-manage, organize, and be accountable towards a goal of a team and the organization. So I have done on both the side, implementing quality circle and academia and this behavioral formation and small kids for almost 15 years. I have implemented Scrum with professionals, engineering team for almost 10 years. And I can see pro and cons on both the side. There are beauties of Agile Circle that you narrow down the problem, have the data in hand before you can make a decision, and then gradually practice. And you also have the ability of managing this creative work, creative aspiration of knowledge worker. Then I started formulating this Agile Circle and started piloting that a couple of years back in Nepal, having come from both the school. A few of my friends with whom we work spread around the world. We collaboratively work on a moment called Agora Speakers in 80 countries. We started collaborating on that. Somebody from Europe and Africa and here in this part of the world. And then we came up with this idea. We thought of like Agile Circle would be much suitable in today's context. Like let's say a new generation is coming up. That's an AI generation, which already have a solution in hand. You tell them a problem and they would drive into the fingertips and they'll give you 20 solutions, 100 solutions just in the fingertips. But that's not where the life is. The problems in a digital firm is a knowledge is fine, but ultimately it has to go and translate into life and change our context, where the AI cannot pop in from the screen and solve the problem for us. We need human beings actually get our hands dirty on the problem and solve it. That's where, from a knowledge to bringing the solution to the real life, where Agile Circle would be bridging more.
Thank you, Ravi. So what the bottom line is that we want to have a workshop which is hands-on. It's something that where the practices that Ravi just described, Agile, Lean, Scrum, quality circles, will lead to adaptability and a solution for continuous improvement. I just want to say the Agile Circle processes that he's developed over 10 years has at the core 5 or 6 steps: observation and identification of the problem, scientific analysis of the root causes, creative solutions, the implementation. Reflection is obviously important for continuous improvement, and then finally iteration after one celebrates the win. Okay, so what are we trying to do here? We're trying to get a date before he leaves. We're trying to create a hands-on training which Ravi is facilitating the learning 10% of the time, so that if you have questions, perhaps you had some difficulty understanding Ravi's English, then there would be an opportunity to ask questions while you're doing the activity. We're going to have a hands-on activity at the end of this presentation so that you can actually go up to the whiteboard and do a couple of exercises so you can see that it will be practice-oriented. And so then we'll have self-organized teams to identify and select their own problems. So that's the conception. So once again, our goal is to enhance the local problem-solving capacity. This is just really a summary of what I've been pitching already. To improve team collaborations, for faster innovation cycles, which is Scrum, and increasing adaptability and resilience, especially in this time of rapid change. And hopefully, we'll have enough facilitators that we can develop a community of practice and continue moving forward. Here's a couple of examples of the kinds of graphic organizers that were used. Ravi and I were just at the startup weekend where Alex was, and we won first place. And I contribute that to the ability of the Scrum to create planning. We had a group of 4. We planned out everything that we needed that the judges were going to judge us on. We were the only group that completed all the tasks. I attribute this to Scrum. He taught us how to do Scrum right at the beginning. Okay, and then we used also, this is the young woman who had the idea that we pitched. And we created an affinity matrix after we validated our idea by interviewing people on the farmer's market. We came back and we put our notes up here to organize affinities to gather together themes of how our product is going to address the most commonly identified problems that the parents have for their kids. It's another Agile process. And then finally, to analyze the root problems, you want to create a fish. This looks like a fish, a skeleton of a fish, right? And so there are problems that occur either in people, processes, tools, program, or the environment. And then out of that, you get an understanding of all the factors that go into the root cause. This is a scientific analysis. And once again, a activity that Ravi will teach us. And now there's going to be a slight interactive activity. I'll turn it over to Ravi, and we'll hand out some sticky notes.
So much. Do we have a pen with all of us? We'll be having some sticky notes to be distributed. Please, can you share them? Do you want to share a few pieces among yourself? Okay, it's a simple activity, nothing complicated. Here, I have a task, small task. You may have to walk up to the whiteboard later. So the activity is, you have to write 2 or 3, let's not go too many, but 2 or 3 problems that you see around your community here. But one problem in one, just one problem in one sticky note. Please don't write 2 problems in one paper, only one. Okay, and maybe you want to use next note for the next problem. You may want to use 2 or 3 or 4 if you want. You have to just write down the problem so everyone can understand when they read it. Later on, we will put it here on whiteboard. So I give you maximum 2 minutes to write down 2 or 3 problems. Any problem that you see in your community or around you, maybe in your home, maybe in your family, maybe in the community, just one problem or 2 problems or 3 problems. Yes, one on each set. Okay, we are with time. Now, if we are 12, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15 of us, we have at least 50 problems, I guess, with us already there. Now the challenge is, all these problems cannot be solved. Many of them, they can be solved. If we start discussing, taking one problem, explaining it, next problem, explaining it, I'll be taking a whole day, right? And then again, we need to prioritize that. What is of our first priority, what is our least priority. We might again have to categorize them, what we can solve ourselves, or what we can solve with the minimal intervention, or what we can solve through government's intervention. Again, we need to also categorize, because these are very randomly written problems. Many of these problems are similar. We need to again identify whose ideas are matching with which. It's going to be taking hours and hours and hours. Let's use a simple technique, couple of minutes, and try to see how we can prioritize them or group them, so that we saving us hours analyzing them before we actually go into detail. We will be using two simple tools. One is called ABC analysis. ABC analysis is very popular in college circle. And what we just do is we categorize problem you can solve yourself or as a team without any intervention, without government getting involved. B, you can solve with some support, minimal support. We have here, we'll be having group A, B, and C. Okay? That's our first thing. To categorize our problem in three categories: category A, category B, and category C. Category A are those problems that we can solve ourselves. Maybe there is a small flower vase outside, it's just broken, or is lacking water. You know, that might be a simple problem that I can fix myself. Or there can be second problem. Few flower vases are broken and I want to replace them. I need some kind of community support, some resource to collect before I fix the problem. As simple as that. Or there can be third category of the problem, climate change, global warming, or maybe some fossil fuel, too much of a fossil fuel burn. Unless and until we have a policy intervention, we cannot make much of an impact. Those kind of big problems, category C. But here, we are using affinity as well. First person comes in and puts the sticky note in either in A category, B category, or C category. But not only that, when next person comes in, if the idea already been passed here matches or similar to your idea, try to keep it nearby in this box. If the idea is similar, you'll be pasting it here, and if not, then in the next place. Try to bring in affinity of a similar idea, so that again we don't need to invest too much of a time. So we have
a question appear on some.
Any question before we as such?
I saw a question appear on someone's face, so I'm just going to repeat that. So this is an affinity matrix, and so what you do is when the first person puts it on the board, if your idea is similar or has some affinity, put it in the same box, and therefore common themes will emerge from the group. Okay. Why don't we go ahead?
We can now start, but 1% at a time. You come with your sticky note, post it in the box that you feel. If you have doubt, two of us, we are here to facilitate.
Okay. And then the next person, get ready. That way it'll move faster if we have kind of a line.
We can join, please.
How do we know what he wrote?
Well, you go up to the board.
Well, do you want each person to speak out what they're...
No, not now.
All right.
All right.
You have to see the affinity of...
Is it close to this one?
No.
So if it's
then
different, then put it in a different
Oh,
box.
I see.
So now it's a different theme altogether.
Got it.
Put it
This
away.
is-
Yeah.
These two are themes, and then this one third.
Thank you. You're getting the process, right?
So we have to read what they say, right?
Yeah.
Right. You gotta glance over what they say. So it's better if people
Maybe-
start coming up and take a look at what's on the board.
This is a good process, though.
This works, of course, much faster when you have a small group of 4, as we did in Startup Weekend.
Thank you. Let's applaud everyone for your contribution. I have seen this exercise quite a lot. I mean, basically brainstorm and identify the problems. And so many problems emerge. In the Agile Circle activity, primarily to start with, we leave the problems that we cannot solve ourselves or as a team. No, not this. We also leave the problems that need some kind of intervention from the external source. Normally, majority of this social event or the team as such waste a plenty of time expecting someone other to intervene or give resources to solve the problem. Now from all our 50 ideas, we have only 4 ideas to focus in the problem that we can solve. Many a time when we do this activity, as such, there are so many, the bigger problem escalating just because of small personal initiatives. We can see that connections and Pareto as such establish that a wider range, nearly 80% of the problems are just because of few minor vital causes, and that 80-20 principle that we use in, and these causes, most of the time, it's about the individual responsibility that leads to the greater issues. So that's how we begin limiting on our scope. We change, we establish that, and then we grow.
Just real quick, that reminds me of when the Industrial Areas Foundation came to Durham, North Carolina. They gave us some of the principles of community organizing, and they gathered about 47 churches in the area and asked them, what are the key issues? And what we're looking for is something that is a first win, that's doable. And what they found was that the Duke University was actually pliable, and that the living wage in Durham, North Carolina was $17.50 per hour, and they were paying their help, which is really the lower level, they were paying them $13.50. These were the bus drivers, these were the cleaning personnel, these were the ones in the cafeteria. They could not afford to live in Durham. So all the churches got together, they advertised in the press, they got the press reporters to report on this, and within a month, Duke University, to keep its reputation, raised their lowest rate to $17.50, a living wage. And that was a quick win. So these kinds of quick wins, it's necessary for the community to identify them, and that's how you get traction in Traction Thursday. And so I saw that myself. So now we're turning it over to questions for Ravi about the process or this workshop. Anything that he said that you're confused about, please ask us. And then after that, I have a survey question because we want to decide whether or not we can actually run it on the date that we've chosen. We need to have participants. So we want to see that.
What is the length?
The time for the workshop.
What's the time of the workshop?
Okay, so that's the survey question. So we're conceptualizing it as 1 day or 2 days. 2 days obviously is more effective. You'll come away with a deeper understanding of facilitation. If that's not possible, of course, we'll do it in 1 day. But as we said, let's have a show of quick hands. Who can? This is July 20th is when we're trying to, which is this weekend.
But how long during the day?
9 to 5. An entire day.
Okay.
So how many at this point can say, I can attend a 2-day workshop this weekend?
I have a refinement, a question. So this is a workshop that would ultimately seek to find the first win, whatever that group of people have put up on the board. To the end of that day, you would have, say, the case study of Duke. Is that what this workshop?
I would say it's less ambitious. It's really the case that we will choose as a hypothetical case that you'll come up with so that you can learn the facilitation process, not so that we get the win, because that would be, of course, significantly more and create a higher level of expectation. Another question.
It's not, I wanted to know, have you talked to Mendy at the Chamber, because they have that leadership program? It may be a great, this presentation might be great to that group too.
I would like to. She's very busy with Ragbri.
Yeah, not for after Ragbri, and maybe a week after that, but
Right.
I think they start in the fall anyway, but this would be a great activity for
Let me quickly
I
aid
agree.
on the process and the time frame. We are not, I mean, like, this process is not about solving a problem in a single day or two. No. This is about only a facilitation workshop in a day or two. But this process minimal takes 6 to 8 weeks. Contrary to Quality Circle normally advocates 16 weeks from finding a problem to a solution. But with the mix of Agile, people are more productive, and we can, as such, do from identification of a problem to solution and implement it and see what is the degree of the problem that we achieve a better quality. At least we need that time frame of 6 to 8 weeks. 6 weeks should be ideal.
So our focus is really on facilitation, learning facilitation, and then seeding a community of practice to do that longer 6 to 8 weeks for a problem. And then he may not be in town, so he would be able to communicate with us by Zoom if he's not in town. And then we would be on our own, basically. So it's really building a foundation for a community of facilitators.
So this is learning about the process, right? Not actually doing something. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is it limited only to things that you can solve in 6 to 8 weeks or some particular time frame? Suppose it would take much longer than that, but is also an extremely doable and worthwhile thing to do.
That's a wonderful question. Definitely, the team can decide the time frame. Meaning by the highest priority problems, ideally could be solved in 6 to 8 weeks. But there might be a problem that might take longer period over a season, a year or two. That might still be okay.
Or 20 years.
Sorry,
Or 20 years.
maybe 20 years.
So, Ravi, a question for clarification. This would be a training so that if any of us have a particular interest to solving something, we would have a process where we could pull a small team together, use this process to tackle that particular problem. Is that what we're talking
Yes,
about?
Exactly.
Okay.
And furthermore, just to aid, yesterday we had a meeting with Apala and team, and they shared one experience with us over the meeting. They also tried implementing Quality Circle, and they got some beautiful result, but not always. And over the time that was saturated, but the mix is we see much participation and outcome with Agile. I suppose our approach of the hybrid approach is much more adaptable and suitable and tends to work.
For those who don't know, that's Apala Lahiri, who is one of the principals at a $500 million company called Human Factors International. We met with her yesterday, and she's very supportive of this process. It goes very well with the process that she's thinking of introducing, which is solidarity. And she's very interested in incorporating that as part of the workshop in the future. So she loved the idea, and she wants to follow up with a workshop of her own, which would teach the solidarity process that she described at Last Traction Thursday.
Ravi, I know that you are in a job search and you may end up anywhere. Would this be the kind of thing, many people, including myself, this is too short a time frame to be able to actually attend, but I would be very, very interested in doing it. Would it be possible with Gregory here and you, perhaps on Zoom, to, if we can't get enough people for the 20th, that we could set another date a little bit further out, and you could either be here or participate on Zoom as a facilitator? Is that practical?
That should be. I don't know very right answer to it because I don't know where I would be landing as I'm looking for the jobs, you know. But I would definitely meaning that I want to contribute to this idea. And furthermore, in the name and the structure, I guess this is first time ever we are doing the facilitator, and we can tribute to Fairfield giving origin or starting this Agile Circle moment if we are doing it. And I heard from some of the management team in MIU who also wants to participate in the workshop. They're willing to offer a room for the workshop, and they say like two of them they would be participating. Let's do the first round, maybe 10 people or 12 people or 15 people, whatever the number. If not 2 days, but the 1 days, let's get going, and so we can improvise on that.
Okay, so once again, how many are just interested? Let's have the easier question. How many of you are interested in the workshop? We haven't figured out the date yet. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is fantastic. Now we have to come to practical matters. How many could make July 20th, which is this weekend? How many could have that open on their schedule? 1, 2, and then 2 from MIU. So that's kind of I get a sense of how many. I would be there, of course. So, well, we'll have to think more about what a good date would be.
Well, if you two can put together, formalize that little thing, that sheet of paper that you passed around, I think if a number of us put it out through our listserv with a link to sign up for the workshop, we could probably get your 10 people. We just need to, I mean, this is a very small group, but if you got 2 from here, 2 from MIU, it wouldn't be much of a trick if we give it to me and a few other people.
The RAC committee.
The RAC committee, I mean, Stuart can put it out, and Stuart and Faith. I think if we move quickly, like today, and get the information so we can get it out, we could probably find the people.
The 9 to 5 is a taxing time on weekends.
Sure.
So you're dealing with other priorities that people have. If you could do more of a confrontational type of thing with a shorter time, let's say 10 to 4 or something like that, you'd pick up a lot more people.
Hello. We can definitely work out on that.
Thank you. All right, so then my other question was, I'll just have a show of hands. You just give us advice. You're our advisors. 1 day or 2 day for the initial workshop?
What would the time frame be if it were 2 days? Would it be shorter each day or
Yeah, I mean,
5 each day?
10 to 4 is workable. We can definitely do that. The only thing is like how to design the workshop. If I do in a single day, I'll have to really focus on the primary aspect and maybe some of the aspect only for learning and doing that later on as it evolves. If 2 days, we can do more exercise, but that's it still be okay. For as an orientation, that's fine for a single day.
One recommendation is that 1 day is far more likely to get more participation, and if there were a preparatory primer that would go out to participants in advance where they would be able to familiarize themselves with the process and principles so that we could have that 1 day be more productive.
True.
Thank
I
you.
totally agree that.
It's a little bit different question. So I serve on the board of a different Chamber of Commerce in a different town. So if I want to pitch this idea to our Chamber of Commerce, is there any material and information I can take on and
Yeah.
send it to them.
Yes, Ravi has a one-page description of the Agile Circle process, and he
actually put on the email and the Facebook.
fantastic. Okay, with that said, I just want to review the principles. When I looked at what he's trying to teach, the principles of community organizing are quite familiar. Communities self-organize. To be effective, they tackle one problem at a time. They always have room for improvement. Only by implementing can you improve. You have to work in sprints, otherwise you can't get things done. And then you iterate continuously to sustain the group. So thank you for your attention. I really appreciate all the recommendations that you've given me. I'm looking forward to getting this done, Ravi, on the weekend, and let's see what happens. It's just an experiment, and I have faith in the process and what I've seen Ravi do after spending a weekend with him at Startup Weekend. Thank you, Alex, for putting part of that together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.